Hello EFD squad and welcome back to another transfer review. Chris Hamill is not here. He's currently having plugs put in for his receding hairline. So instead we've got a man who's just given in to Father Time. It's
There's been so many hair jokes about my hair. The Stat Wars is I'm on it this Saturday. Hamill is ruthless about my hair, all episode as well. But yeah, no, I've got to get used to it. And we kick off today with talking about Rodrigo's possible move to Real Madrid. Valencia number 9, Rodrigo. And this is coming from AS. And they report that Lopetegui is keen to sign another rival for Benzema. But actually, Florentino Perez and the hierarchy are actually reluctant to splash the cash because they believe that Real Madrid are able to meet their objectives without Cristiano Ronaldo this year. And I suppose that really depends on what their objectives are, but I don't think it'd be a bad idea to get another forward through the door. And the hopes of signing Kane, Cavani, Lewandowski, the really top-end strikers, have all but disappeared this window. And it now looks likely that if they do get anyone in, it's going to be Valencia's number 9, Rodrigo. Lopetegui knows him well from his time with the under-21s. Rodrigo actually had a fantastic record for his team. Between 2011 and 2013, he scored 15 goals in 16 appearances for La Roja's junior side. And they also won the under-21 Euros together in 2013. And the AS claim that he's got a €120 million release clause, but it's more likely that they could find a middle ground at something more like 60. With Mathieu Alemany, Valencia's general director, he was quoted in El País, another Spanish paper, saying, "I cannot guarantee anything about Rodrigo staying. Of course, our plan is that Rodrigo continues at Valencia." So they're obviously keen to keep him. He scored in their opening game against Atletico Madrid at the weekend, on Monday, and actually looked very impressive as well. So they'll obviously be reluctant to let him go. But Pato, what do you think about this possible signing?
I'm not wild about it from a Real Madrid angle. Though actually, Rodrigo did start there as a youth player. He was there between 2008 and 2010. Obviously caught the eye at Benfica following a loan. I didn't know he went on loan to Bolton.
He was briefly there.
Yeah, and he's joined Valencia back in 2014. And in his first 77 matches, was involved in had 10 goals and 10 assists. But was actually involved in the same number of goals last season for them, 16 goals and 4 assists in the league. And that's what's brought in the attention from Real Madrid. He was involved in 31% of Valencia's league goals. Wow. However, the underlying numbers are not spectacular. 2.5 shots a game, that's okay. 0.9 key passes, not amazing. 1.2 dribbles, okay. And when you look at his expected goals, it looks like he did overperform his goals and assists a little bit. So from my point of view, I kind of think that this is a great time for Valencia to sell. Often when you have a player who has one amazing season and the underlying numbers don't look great, that's the time you need to talk to your analytics team and say, is this a good time to sell this guy? So Torino probably should have sold Andrea Belotti a year ago, right? After he got whatever it was, 25, 26 goals in the league. They didn't, and as a result, he went back to his normal level, and instead of them talking about 100 million euros for him, they're talking about something much more reasonable. The same's going to happen with Rodrigo unless they sell him now. I think he's 27 years old, so it's a pretty good time.
That's key as well. I mean, that's a lot of money for a 27-year-old who's only had one exceptional season.
Yeah, I would definitely take it if I were Valencia, especially seeing as they've got Michy Batshuayi and they've also got Santi Mina, who should carry them through this season. Plus, they've got Zaza on the bench if they're interested in that. I think that it would not be a great move for Real Madrid. It's not going to dramatically change their attacking output, and they'd be better off spending this kind of fee on a younger player who might be a better prospect for the future. But what do you guys think? Do you think Rodrigo would be a good move for Real Madrid? Let us know in the comments below.
Right, we move on next to Manchester City, where a slight injury issue has left them looking for another option, Pato.
Yeah, that's right. According to AS Mundo Deportivo, City are looking to sign Keylor Navas from Real Madrid on an emergency loan, which you can do following the end of the transfer window, after second-choice keeper Claudio Bravo ruptured his Achilles tendon in training on the 20th of August. Now, that means that City's backup goalkeeper to Ederson is 20-year-old Daniel Grimshaw, who has been in their academy since he was 9 years old. Now, last season had a very good year with the second team, got to the semi-finals of the UEFA Youth League, and that earned him a contract extension. It means he can train with the first team, but if Ederson gets injured, you are in serious trouble because Ederson's skill set is pretty damn rare. And last season, he made the difference from the year before.
100%.
You know, a huge margin.
And if they're competing on 4 fronts as well, you definitely need a better backup.
Absolutely. So I think that this would make sense. I think Navas is a fantastic goalkeeper. If you can get him in on an emergency loan, that would be spectacular business for City.
Yeah, fantastic business. I mean, he's really gone from a virtual unknown before the 2014 World Cup to a massive global star, Keylor Navas. He's 31 now, but he's won 9 trophies in that time, including 1 La Liga and 3 Champions Leagues. And his saves-to-goal ratio, while not exceptional, not David De Gea standards, is still very impressive. He made 2.4 saves per goal in La Liga last season. That's actually better than his incoming replacement, Courtois, who made 2.1 in the Premier League. Obviously, he's been put down the pecking order by Courtois' arrival, and he said he wanted to stay and fight for his place. But according to AS, Real Madrid would be willing to let him go to Manchester City as they have an abundance of keepers in their squad. They've got Courtois, Casilla, Lunin, who they signed this summer, and Lucas Zidane, Zidane's son. And Lopetegui made clear that after their 2-0 win over Getafe at the weekend that he would be willing to let 2 keepers go. And Mundo Deportivo and numerous other papers in Spain have suggested that those 2 are either Kiko Casilla and Lucas Zidane. But with City's problems, maybe they could be tempted to let Navas go on this emergency loan deal. But in terms of Real Madrid, how would this leave them? Well, Lucas Zidane's only ever made 1 Real Madrid appearance. I think that was a league match last year. But Kiko Casilla, I think, would be a very able deputy. He's 31 years old. He's got plenty of experience. He's played 300 career appearances. He's made 140 in La Liga for Espanyol and Real Madrid. So he would be a perfectly capable understudy. And if City could get Keylor Navas in as an emergency loan, this is also, just to sit on the bench. He's not going to replace Ederson, who'll play in cup games. This is a great potential move for City. I'd be surprised if Real Madrid were willing to let him go, but according to these reports, it could well happen. City fans, would you be excited by Keylor Navas' arrival at the Etihad? And Real Madrid fans, let us know, would you be disappointed to see your 3-time Champions League winner leave? Let us know in the comments down below.
Next up, we have a couple of done deals for you. AC Milan managed to wrap up last-minute moves for Diego Laxalt and Samuel Castillejo. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, well, we thought we'd do a brief little recap here because obviously the Premier League window shut on August the 9th. Serie A's window shut last Friday, and so we've just got the French, German and Spanish windows open till the end of this month. And the Rossoneri managed to get in 2 quite exciting, reasonably young players in Samuel Castillejo and Genoa's Diego Laxalt in on deadline day. Now, Villarreal's Castillejo is a 23-year-old attacking midfielder capable of playing on either wing or as a number 10, and he was signed for £22.5 million, with Carlos Bacca, who spent last season on loan at Villarreal, going the other way permanently. His breakthrough year was very much last year. He got 6 goals and 5 assists in 30 La Liga games. But slightly concerningly for AC Milan, he'd never really been that prolific before that. That one season constituted 42% of his career goal involvements for Malaga before he joined Villarreal. But on last season alone, he'll be a big loss to Villarreal. He took 1.9 shots per game, the 3rd in their squad, 1.4 key passes, the 2nd in their squad, and 1.6 dribbles, which was surprisingly 1st in their squad. But Villarreal have actually signed really cleverly this summer, I think, in attacking areas. Gerard Moreno's come in. He got 16 goals for Espanyol last year. That was 8th best in La Liga. And Carl Toko Ekambi, who we've talked about on EFD a few times now, has arrived from Angers, and he got 17 goals and 6 assists for a very much a mid-table side who only finished, I think, 4 points above 18th last year. So Samuel Castillejo, interesting arrival, quite young. Will compete for those forward slots behind the striker. But there's been another arrival, Pate, Diego Laxalt. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, Laxalt is 25 years old. So he kind of is one for the present rather than one for the future. The one thing about Castillejo, I would say, is that you might be a little bit less worried about the fact that he's only recently started scoring and getting assists because he is only just 23.
True.
So you think, okay, well, maybe he will start to kick on now. Laxalt needs to come in as pretty much a first-team player straight away. Arrives from Genoa for £12.6 million. He can play at left-back or in the left of midfield, and he played at left-back for Uruguay in the World Cup, where he was very, very impressive. Now, this move has seen Gianluca Lapadula go the other way to Genoa. And Laxalt, I think, would be an interesting, versatile addition to the squad. He scored 3 and assisted 3 in 32 Serie A games last season, and was pretty much an attacking threat. 1 shot a game, 0.8 key passes. These are okay numbers for a left back if he was playing in left mid, we'd probably be a little bit harsher. 1.3 dribbles a game, though. Very useful at getting them out of defensive areas. It's interesting, though, because, of course, they only bought Ricardo Rodriguez the season before.
True.
But he can play as a centre-back, particularly in a back three. So maybe we will see Rodriguez go into the back three, replacing Bonucci, and we'll have a kind of Rodriguez, Caldara, Romagnoli back three, maybe.
That'd be pretty solid.
Because otherwise, I don't know, it's hard to see why they're spending extra money on Laxalt. I don't know, I think that Milan's transfers, they've at least been a little bit less expensive this summer. I will say that for them. But I still think the squad is a little bit lopsided, and I still think they're a little bit too excited by the prospect of signing a new player. I think getting Higuain in is a little bit of a dodgy move, even though they also managed to get in Caldara, which is great. I think that they've got so many guys who are going into their second season that you don't want to overload it with guys who are going to be in there first. And I also don't really think that Gattuso is a terribly good coach. So it's really hard.
As well, but they brought in a hell of a lot of players over the last 2 summers.
Yeah, well, this summer they got Caldara, Higuain, Bakayoko on loan. Forgot about that. Halilovic, which is a kind of gamble on a free, right? Strinic, Pepe Reina, and now these 2 guys. So it just seems like you can't really turn a squad over this quickly. It will lead to problems.
And Strinic has just been diagnosed with a heart issue, I believe.
Oh, God, really?
So I think he's out for quite a while. So our thoughts go to his recovery. But do you think Gattuso seems like a ticking time bomb, in my opinion. I don't see him last. He's not going to be a long-term manager at AC Milan, in my opinion. How do you think AC Milan will do this year? What are their aims and expectations, I suppose?
Well, their aims are always going to be to make the top four. Now that Serie A has 4 Champions League slots, that has to be what they're aiming at, especially when they're putting so much money in. But it just seems weird to be shelling out so much for players, some of whom are not long-term prospects, and doing it under a coach who you can't realistically expect is going to be there for that long. If I were Milan, I would be thinking very hard about who our next coach was going to be. And then once you've worked that out, you build a squad according to the style of football you want to play. At the moment, it feels like they built a squad for Montella, or started building a squad for him. He left, they brought in Gattuso. Now they're doing something else with their transfers. Like, I don't really know what kind of team they're aiming at being. And if you don't do that, if you don't have joined up thinking, you're going to end up shitting a bunch of money on players who are maybe not going to be there in the long term. So, yeah, I don't know about this one, but what do you think, Milan fans? We want to hear from you in the comments below.
Next up, we head to Germany, where the rumours are circling that Borussia Dortmund are considering a move for a Barcelona squad player, we'd say. Not really an outcast, a squad player.
Yeah, L'Equipe and RAC1 are reporting that 24-year-old Barcelona forward Paco Alcácer has emerged as a target for Borussia Dortmund. Now, it was interesting that they didn't make a move for a striker earlier in the window. We saw Andre Silva go on loan to Sevilla. We saw Michy Batshuayi go on loan to Valencia. And Dortmund have always had that one centre-forward who gets a ton of goals. So it was weird that they weren't going for a prolific striker. Now, they've decided that Paco Alcácer might be their best option, and a BVB representative apparently landed in Barcelona on Tuesday night to convince the player to sign. Now, he was going to join Real Betis because he was apparently keen to stay in Spain, but they lost to Levante 3-0, and manager Quique Setién said that they need to spend their money on sorting out the defence instead. Now, Paco, I think, is actually a really good player. He's got 15 goals in 50 games for the Blaugrana. It's not spectacular, but a lot of sub-minutes in there. Moved there for 30 million euros from Valencia in August 2016. Very solid record for the Spanish national team, 6 in 13. He only played 700 minutes in La Liga last season, started 8 games, but managed to score 4 and assist 3. So only Coutinho, Paulinho, Messi and Suarez were involved in more goals. Now that, to me, sounds like he's the ideal candidate for them. He's reasonably young. He was actually a very prolific scorer at Valencia. And I think
he's going to break the bank either.
I don't think he would break the bank, no. And if they could get maybe a loan with an option to buy, then this might be a really savvy move, and the kind of thing that Borussia Dortmund used to do before the last year or so, where they've been
Yeah, no, it's a big season for Dortmund. I mean, they finished 29 points behind Bayern last year. And they badly need some goals. As Pato mentioned earlier, they failed in a loan bid to sign Michy Batshuayi. Their current forward options are Max Philippe, Marco Reus, Alexander Isaac and Jadon Sancho. And that is not going to threaten a title, I don't think.
And only one of those is really a proper number
9,
right?
An out-and-out striker. Philippe scored 9 Bundesliga goals in 17-18, Reus 7, but you wouldn't rely on Reus to stay fit for an entire year, and Philippe's not going to shoulder the burden alone. They've obviously lost some big talent in the last 2 years in those areas. But Aubameyang and Batshuayi scored 31% of the team's league goals between them last campaign. And bear in mind that they were each only there for 6 months each. And it's understood that this would be a season-long loan deal with BVB paying his wages in full. So even more attractive for Dortmund. They don't, see how it goes, then try and make it permanent. He's got 3 years remaining on his current contract deal, though, so it's unclear about whether Barcelona would sanction a move, especially as their current forward options are Suarez, Messi, Dembele, Malcolm and Munir, which is a fantastic array of talent, but only Suarez and Messi could probably play as a number 9 in that. So whether Barcelona would then have to dip into the market again and look to sign a striker would, potentially happen. But Paco Alcácer, you're quite a fan of this move.
Yeah, I think that this is quite smart. I think that he's led a forward line before, and while he's not the kind of physical presence that Batshuayi and Aubameyang and Lewandowski before them all were, he's a different sort of striker. He's pretty creative as well. As for Barcelona, I think that if they were to let him go and not bring in a centre forward, which I don't think they would really, I think this would back up what we've been saying, which is maybe they're thinking about life after Suarez. And the reason they brought in Malcolm is because they want to play Malcolm off one wing, Dembele off the other, Coutinho in a 3-man midfield, and Messi at 9. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works, because Suarez is clearly aging, slowing down a little bit. This is a move that could probably work out for all parties.
Yeah, no, it seems to make sense. I mean, Suarez did look sharp at the weekend as well, but yeah, he's not going to go on.
Should we poll this?
Yes, let's definitely poll this. Barcelona fans, if Alcácer was to leave, do you think you should dip into the market again? And if so, who should you go for? So we'll go for yes and no. Get voting in the poll above.
Transfer shocker time, and we've got an absolutely disgusting one for you today. Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, both in for the same player, but who could that player be? It's a Chelsea star. You're thinking Hazard. It's not.
Is it Willian?
It's Marcos Alonso.
What?
Marcos Alonso. He is. Oh God. Just talk about it, do you?
Yeah,
making me livid.
Pato's fuming. We'll get back to Pato when he's had a few deep breaths. He does have some fantastic pedigree, Marcos Alonso, but it looks like he's just snuck in off the back of that. His grandfather's played for Real Madrid. His father played for Barcelona and Atleti. He's obviously been at Chelsea for 2 years. He's won a Premier League and FA Cup, been included in a PFA Team of the Year, and he scored 14 goals and assisted 6 in 66 Premier League games. That is pretty remarkable. That's a goal involvement every 0.3 games, which is the same as Willian over the same period. But this move is slightly baffling, although it does make sense more from an Atletico Madrid perspective, in my opinion. Apparently, according to reports from AS, neither of them were looking at the 27-year-old to sign this summer, and for good reason. I mean, he's fairly slow, and I think his positional sense is questionable to say the least.
Yep.
But he does pop up in useful areas. But the new development is that 33-year-old Atletico Madrid left-back Felipe Luis is potentially pretty close to joining PSG. After their 1-1 draw with Valencia on Monday, Oblak was quoted as saying, "It's a little sad, but football is like that. Let's see what happens. Felipe has a good opportunity, and we must respect the decision of each player." But there's a few stumbling blocks in this potential move as well. The Parisians are only happy to offer €5 million, pointing out that he's 33 and has 1 year remaining on his current contract. But Simeone's holding out for 30 million, saying that with the Premier League and with the Serie A markets closed, they have very few options as well. Marcos Alonso is supposedly their first choice if Felipe Luis leaves, but if he doesn't leave, they're happy with their options as it is. If they don't get Marcos Alonso, the names in the hat are Alex Telles of Porto, Jordan Amavi from Marseille, and Alex Grimaldo from Benfica. So this move seems pretty unlikely from an Atletico Madrid perspective. And Pato, have you managed to calm down and get your head around why Real Madrid could possibly want to sign Marcos Alonso?
No. They've loaned out Theo Hernandez to Real Sociedad, and apparently if they don't get Alonso, then they also want Alex Telles. And Alex Telles makes much more sense as a backup to Marcelo. I mean, he's 25, so it's a little bit of a problem in that you'd rather he was kind of 3 years younger, given that Marcelo is still an absolutely sensational left-back. But he got 3 goals, 14 assists in 30 Liga NOS games last season. He led the league in key passes game with 3.2, but he also made 4 tackles and interceptions, so he's just reliable all around. And given that they use Marcelo so much as a creative outlet in that side, it seems weird to then go to Alonso, who, while he's a good goal scorer, he's certainly not a dribbler and he's not that much of a creator Like,
and in the four in the back system, we haven't even seen what he's going to be like yet, really.
Well, exactly. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Like, Real Madrid have very mobile centre backs who can probably cover for a guy who's like trudged upfield and is too slow to get back. But it just seems very, very bizarre to me. I think they'd have much better success going for somebody who's used to playing a more creative role.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't think people should also be misled by his assist and goal numbers. Whilst impressive, he does also take free kicks, and he's incredible over a set piece. So a lot of those assists and goals are from direct free kicks or indirect free kicks.
Yeah, I just think it's weird. Anyway, the mooted fee is 30 million euros, which seems a bit weird that Chelsea paid 24 million, which at the time was considered over the odds. Since then, he's won an FA Cup and a league title, but he's only gone up 6 million euros. I think Chelsea are going to ask for obscene money. Atleti might ask, I guess. They probably will be less worried by him being slow, especially if he's going to be a backup to Lucas Hernandez. But are they going to pay 30 mil for a backup? I don't understand this. That makes no sense.
And a team built on such a solid defence. I don't know why they'd want Marcos Alonso either.
What is going on? Real Madrid need a striker. Don't buy Marcos Alonso. Simple rule. Never buy Marcos Alonso. Like, Atletico Madrid have played Lucas Hernandez there, and he was absolutely fantastic last season when he was deputising for Felipe Luis. Maybe in the long term you want him to be a centre-back, but at the moment you've got Godin and Jimenez. You're absolutely fine. He plays as a left-back. Marcos Alonso is just like one of those guys, isn't he? Who just wanders around all the great clubs of Europe, somehow picking up medals.
I mean, on the topic of great clubs of Europe, I actually remember when he was at Sunderland on loan. Yeah. And he was pretty... I didn't think he was good then, and he somehow got a lot better, in fairness to him. God. But Marcos Alonso at Real Madrid doesn't really do it for me. Does it do it for you? Do you want Marcos Alonso to move? Chelsea fans, will that be a disaster? Why don't we do another poll? Do you think he should move to Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, or stay where he is? Vote in the poll above. So that was transfer review. I mean, we had Pato getting pretty angry.
It's mental.
I managed to get Sunderland in there as well, so it was a fantastic episode in my opinion. Pato, what do you think the good people should do now, or are you just going to storm off?
I don't really know what to make of this week. It's been an odd one, but Anyway, check out last weekend's finale of Stat Wars: The Champions, where you can see who won the new belt, which I did not get when I won the first season of Stat Wars: The Champions. Yeah. Because we hadn't bought it yet. Nonsense. And check out, VFN and all that kind of stuff over on Football Daily.
Cheers.
Or whatever.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Bye.
Bye. Marcos Alonso, man. I will go to my grave telling everyone he was shit.